Hi, I'm Mike Lardy.
I'm Daniel Mears, and today we're talking about being relational.
Well, no, actually, today we're talking about how insane this weather is. It's the
It-
middle of February. I'm in a t-shirt. Daniel's talking about jumping in the creek. Unreal.
The weather is crazy. In fact, I was actually sweating as we walked down here because it's like 80 degrees in Lake Arrowhead right now.
So anyways.
Yeah, so anyways, today we're talking about being relational with this beautiful scenery with Lake Arrowhead behind us, and Mike and I really suffered to walk down here and enjoy a hike down here to film this video
That's
for you.
right.
So we hope you enjoy it because we are obviously not enjoying it. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was this idea of being relational and how in the church today we think the best way to transfer information is some guy standing up on a pulpit or on a stage and communicating and giving people what I think they need to know for 35 minutes or 45 minutes or whatever it might be. In fact, we see this all over the country now. We see it in small churches, large churches, we see it in mega churches, and all at the heart of every pastor is this desire to have his church completely full of people so that he can stand and inspire them with biblical trivia for 35 minutes. But here's the reality. People don't learn like that. A very small percentage of the population learn from lecture style teaching. And more often than not, people learn by catching something, or in other terms, seeing something rather than being taught. That's why relationships and relational discipleship is so powerful. Because not only are we communicating and learning verbally, but people are seeing and hearing in my life. And because we're in a friendship and a relationship, they're learning about Christ, not just by my words, but by my actions.
That's right. And that's why Jesus modeled relationship for us. In fact, we read the Bible, and I kind of see where this happens. You follow the Gospels, and there's teaching and there's instruction. But Jesus recognized the limits of that, He taught through relationships, because really what was happening between all that formal instruction was he was having downtime with the guys, and they were able to take apart all that formal instruction,
Yes.
all the things that pastors think are how we learn best.
Yes.
He was actually taking that formal teaching and then breaking it down for them, and they had time to invest in conversation with one another because they were together. And so Jesus invested his entire life into those 12 guys because he knew that more is caught than taught. And so the same goes for nowadays. It's all about relationships are where we learn the most.
Exactly. And if there was one person on the face of the earth that could ever do life and do ministry by themselves, it would have been Jesus Christ. He could have done it by himself. He didn't need others. But yet what we learn from Jesus is that 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 or 12 in Jesus' case are better than one, because there's strength in numbers. There's help in numbers. And we see Jesus model that. He brought along 12 to teach them and to train them, so that not just that he could speak into their lives, but so that they could see what he was doing. And then we see that later on when Jesus sends them out. He sends them out by twos. Later on, after Jesus is gone and the apostles have started the church, we see them working together. They're going on missionary journeys together. Paul frequently is talking about sending men coming with him, teaching together. We see Paul very strategically discipling other men, Timothy and others. And so one thing we can learn through Jesus' model and really through all of Scripture is that 2 in a relationship is better than 1.
2 are better than 1. And it's really cool to see in the scriptures that we have this picture of the disciples, and we also have this kind of account of the entire early church. And really what happened was their relationships were what made the message real. And so what I mean by that is that people are kind of blown away when they see the church coming together in unity, because we're not really, just in our own fallen nature, we're not made for that. We have different personalities, we have different attitudes, we have different preferences, and all of these things build it up into conflict.
Exactly. Yes.
But when the world sees the church pushing past conflict, getting over it, making things right, and staying together, I think they're blown away.
Exactly.
And I think that the message of Jesus is best communicated, and the community receives the message of Jesus when it sees the church displaying love in all things.
Exactly. And so this is why first we say in discipleship we have to be intentional, but secondly, and it's not second, they go together perfectly, relationships have to be the vehicle that we use to become this united force that Mike is talking about. And I'm actually seeing this in my own group. You know, Mike and I have learned all about this, read books, gone to seminars, gone to conferences, been mentored ourselves, and we've learned all this up here, but now we're experiencing it in our own lives, in our own groups. We've got this young man who doesn't even come to church very often. He's probably only been to our church 3 or 4 times. Yet, just in the last month, all of a sudden this young man has blossomed in my group to just being a sponge for the things of the Lord, being a sponge for Scripture. He's got 101 questions, constantly asking, and it's because he was put on a fast track to spiritual maturity, to be going from the things we talked about before, infant, child, young adult. He's been put on that fast track because all of a sudden he and I have gotten this great friendship and relationship going where we're sharing life, we're sharing ups, we're sharing downs, we're hanging out together outside of our group. And actually that time outside of our group ends up being just as fruitful or more fruitful than even our group time does. And so I'm seeing this happen in my own life, in my own group.
Right, and that's why we make such a big deal out of this at Woodlands. We make such a big deal out of relational discipleship because it just works. Now, I know some of you might hear stories like that coming out of these groups and you think, I don't really know about this relational stuff, but trust us, it just works. I mean, I've got a guy in my group, he's never been to church, but he can sit on a couch and talk all about a Bible study, and I'm watching him take these little steps towards faith every single week, and I just love it. I love it. So what about you? Is it time to take that next step? Is it time to put your faith into action and do something that Jesus did and something Jesus commanded? Well, Daniel and I pretty soon here are going to be telling you about the discipleship training that's coming up. It starts March 9th on a Wednesday, and it's going to go for 12 weeks. And we're going to, this is for those of you who want to take it to the next level. Take it to the next level. And so we're going to be releasing more information about that in the weeks to come. We're going to be answering your questions about it and what it looks like and what we go through. And you'll get to hear from some people that have already gone through it as well. So it's going to be a very exciting time for our church. This stuff just works. This stuff just works. It's a fast track to spiritual growth, and where there's spiritual growth, you guarantee you're going to see people loving one another. So that's what it's all about. So that's all we have for you for this week. Have a good weekend, and we will catch you on the other side.
See you on Sunday.